There are probably as many different styles of music as there are expressions of Christian faith. A married couple in Birmingham are so in love with one particular style of music, they're even opening a new church around it. Josie has paid them a visit.
Now, a Methodist church like this might normally be the place to hear some traditional hymns by Wesley, but on Sunday afternoons they do their music differently here. This is the newly formed Jazz Community Church, led by husband and wife team Adam and Steph Sanders. With band members from across Birmingham, they're hoping it will attract new people to church.
I think a lot of people can feel a bit alienated by traditional forms of church, or haven't felt that they've found their home. And I feel like we can offer something slightly different that people find kind of accessible.
Jazz is about improvisation, spontaneity, and in a world that is complex and confusing sometimes and is forever changing, we need to be improvising life and following Jesus within that context.
Jazz is often associated with dimly lit nightclubs, and in its early days was even labelled the devil's music. But Adam believes it can be inspirational.
We believe in a God who has created so many different types of music, and we want to celebrate that. And so for me, it's there's no kind of contradiction there at all.
So when you're making this music in this setting, how does it feel?
Kind of invigorating, the freshness of it, because it's different every time, because it's a lot of improvisation. I feel most free to express myself, and I love it. I really enjoy it.
As this is the group's first service, they had no idea who would come, but there's been a healthy turnout.
And I really like the fact they used some traditional hymns that everyone knew, but with the jazz twist.
Obviously you've got that improvisation in jazz, but the improvising life as a community together, yeah, I like that, bringing that out.
Adam, how do you make sure people leave here talking about Christ, talking about God, and not about the music?
Well, people might come for the music, but hopefully they'll go away transformed and ready to live that life of following Jesus.
When love was king, do you remember when love was king? He ruled the land with his fist unfurled, with open arms for the world of hungry children. First he'd think to pull their lives from the brink. He rescued souls that were lost in the sea. In drifting vessels he would hear their plea. Beside him stood his mighty queen, an equal force, wise and keen. He lifted up the underneath, and all his wealth he did bequeath to those who toiled without again, so they would remember his reign. Oh, so seek some place to call your own, right beside this mighty shining throne, when love was king. Oh, when love was king.
Our next hymn is one of the most ancient in the Christian church that's still sung today. Veni Creator Spiritus is believed to date from the 9th century and has been used in the consecration of bishops, the election of popes, and the coronation of monarchs. This 1627 English translation has also been sung at the ordination of countless generations of priests. Though we live in a busy, crowded world, isolation and loneliness is common. But in a male domain, usually found at the bottom of the garden, Claire meets a group of men who forge strong ties.
Lots of men love pottering about in their garden sheds on a Sunday afternoon. But here at St Thomas's Church Hall in Kirkby in Ashfield, some of the male congregation are using their tools not just to build woodwork in their shed. They're using it to help build their confidence too. The idea of men in sheds was in response to concerns about the high level of mental health problems and suicides in post-retirement men.
I might have to use skew chisel now just to get that bit down a bit further.
The idea is that it brings them together to make things, and that's a great way to socialise. Chris Manning helped to set up the workshop at his church.
You can hold a coffee morning, And the women will come and drink a cup of coffee and chat for an hour. The men will come and drink a cup of coffee and go home. But if you put a tool in somebody's hand, it's very different. It gives you a relationship where you feel safe to talk about things that you wouldn't maybe in any other circumstance to the fellow who's working alongside you.
Men in Sheds has really helped their members through some very tough times.
We look at a community like ours and what's the role of the church? Well, the church's role is what Jesus did. And where would Jesus be? Well, he'd be looking after these fellas who've retired. We as the church should be there.
15 years ago, 69-year-old Pete was forced to retire early after having a stroke, and it hit him hard.
There are days when I get depressed. You feel as though the world's finished, and it's difficult to describe, to be honest, unless you've experienced depression. It's part of the baggage of having a stroke. But this takes my mind off things.
And how much do you look forward to coming here every Friday?
Can't wait to get back here on a Friday, have a banter with the lads,
The Shed has also helped retired teacher Di to deal with his health problems, as he was diagnosed with Parkinson's 4 years ago.
Sometimes it's very difficult to talk about it, but at least in this environment you feel you can share it with people without that fear of stigma or whatever, And it's difficult to put a price on that acceptance, Because of your condition, whatever the condition is, you can still come along and we'll look after you. We may come to use pieces of wood to make things, but perhaps the most important part for us is a coffee break at 10:30. Gracias. Thank you. After I'd been coming here for about 4 or 5 weeks, I think I walked in through the door and I started having a load of abuse thrown at me. And I thought, I finally belong, do you know what I mean? But that's how it is, isn't it, with men folk,